Burnout doesn't start at work, not in a hospital hallway or an office cubicle or on a factory floor. Burnout begins the moment you start abandoning yourself. I'm someone who spent my whole life being the strong one, the oldest daughter, the reliable one, the young single mom who never asked for help, the caretaker, long before I was ever a nurse. I learned early that being useful was how I belonged. I became the smart one, the good girl, the little nurse. My emotions were inconvenient and my needs were too much, so I hid them, even from myself. And then, like many of us do, I grew into a woman who could carry the world, but couldn't actually tell you what she needed. Today, I want to walk through the 12 stages of burnout and share how I moved through them long before I ever punched a time clock or put on scrubs. Before we dive in, I want to acknowledge the source of this framework. The 12-stage model of burnout was developed by psychologists Herbert, Freudenberger, and Gail North. Their research shows that burnout is not a sudden collapse. It's a long progression, often years, even decades. And we can recognize it and interrupt it. Understanding these stages helped me see that burnout didn't come from my job. That's right. It came from my conditioning. Stage 1, the need to prove yourself. Some of us are raised in a proving ground. We learn to excel. We learn to be dependable. We learn to be impressive. We learn that love is earned through performance. As a child, I was praised for helping, fixing, caregiving, and being compliant. Not for resting, not for having needs, not for feeling things, and certainly not for making those feelings known. I learned that the only way I wasn't a burden was to be useful and helpful. Burnout begins long before we're exhausted. It begins when we believe we must achieve our value. Stage 2, working harder. Once you believe that your worth must be earned, you hustle for it. You take on too much. You don't ask for help. You become the one who never drops the ball. By 22, I was divorced, raising a child alone, and determined to fix the path that I had messed up. So I went to nursing school, not because I knew who I was, but because I was terrified that without serving others, I would be nothing. I wanted my parents to be proud of me, and I didn't ever want to ask them for help. I thought that going to nursing school and becoming an ER nurse was the quickest path to being somebody. Nursing gave me an identity, but it also taught me to disappear, to hide behind my job title. Stage 3, neglecting your needs. Here's the tricky part. The world rewards your self-neglect. They'll clap for your exhaustion. The world will respect your overcommitment. It will praise your ability to keep going like the Energizer Bunny. You eat when you can. You sleep when you're allowed. You silence your body's signals because people need you. But neglect accumulates interest, and the body always keeps the receipts. It whispers first. Fatigue, headaches, brain fog, mood swings, insomnia. Then it starts to scream. Stage 4, displacement of conflict. This is where resentment builds, quietly and privately. You don't speak up. You don't set boundaries. You tell yourself it's fine. You convince yourself that it's easier this way. But unspoken pain doesn't go away. It ferments. When you believe your needs are dangerous, conflict becomes the enemy, even when the conflict is simply the truth trying to surface. I became the master of avoiding conflict. Stage 5, a change in values. If you lose yourself long enough, you forget what you love. Life becomes obligation. Joy becomes optional. Identity becomes a job description. Being a nurse became my badge of redemption. Look, I fixed it. I'm responsible now. I'm good. I'm useful. But success built on self-erasure is just prettier self-erasure. I was doing everything right and still missing from my own life. Stage 6, denial and irritability. This is where the cracks start showing. You're exhausted, but you deny it. You're overwhelmed, but you refuse to ask for help. You snap at people you love. Your compassion collapses. Your patience runs dry. And you feel ashamed. Because if you were really strong, wouldn't this feel easier? Denial is burnout's favorite partner. Stage 7, withdrawal. At this stage, you retreat from the world, not because you don't care, but because caring suddenly costs too much. Every little thing feels like too much to handle. Even the phone ringing feels like the world is asking too much of you. So you cancel plans. You ghost people that you love. You build walls and you call it rest or introversion or I'm just tired. But inside, the truth is scarier. You don't know who you are without the mask of strength. And you don't want people to see the real you. Isolation feels safe, but loneliness just accelerates the collapse. Then stage 8, behavior changes and coping. The emptiness grows, so you try to fill it. And addiction shows up in many faces and in many ways. Work, approval, busyness, shopping, food, alcohol, drugs, love, sex, fantasy, validation, and now social media. Whatever gives relief, even for a moment. Addiction isn't weakness. It's an attempt to soothe a wound, to fill a void, to numb your feelings. It's a coping mechanism. And the world rarely notices it's happening because you're still functioning. You're still showing up. You're still holding everything together on the outside. Stage 9, depersonalization. This is the emotional flatline. You perform your life instead of living it. You're physically present, but absent in every way that matters. You look around and think, how did this become my life? Where did I go? Why can't I feel anything good anymore? You become a background character in your own story. Stage 10, inner emptiness. This is where purpose dissolves. The question becomes, what's the point? Even distractions stop working. Even your coping strategies feel hollow now. This is where burnout becomes existential, a spiritual crisis hiding inside a functioning adult. You wake up and you don't want to start the day. You go to bed and you don't want the morning to come. Maybe sleep becomes your only solace. Stage 11, depression. Depression isn't necessarily sadness. For a lot of us, it's the absence for aliveness. You can't imagine joy. Your future feels like a sentence instead of a possibility. You stopped caring about the things you used to care about. Depression is not a personal failure. It's the body demanding a different way because the current way is not working. Stage 12, finally the collapse. Eventually the body says, if you won't stop, I will. Some people get sick. Some break down emotionally. Some have panic attacks. Some just run away. Some lose everything they've built. Personally, like so many women, I found myself with numerous vague medical complaints, which turned out to be severe insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and autoimmune activity. Collapse is terrifying, but collapse is also a door. It's the moment the facade falls and you have two choices. Rebuild the life that broke you, or build a life where you can finally breathe. I chose to breathe. I chose to start letting go of things, and I chose to start giving myself some grace. And it has been the biggest shift in my mental and physical health that I could have ever imagined. Healing began when I stopped trying to prove myself. When I stopped chasing approval like oxygen. When I realized the little girl inside me had spent her whole life being strong because she didn't know she was allowed to be anything else. Recovery meant resting without an apology, feeling without shame, asking without guilt, learning who I am without the mask, mothering myself the way I mothered everyone else, and making choices based on what was going to be good for my soul rather than what was going to get me the most recognition or money. I didn't need to become stronger. I needed to become softer with myself. Why does this happen to women like us? Burnout seems to hit hardest for eldest daughters, caregivers, perfectionists, people pleasers, healthcare workers, women raised to be selfless, survivors of trauma who chose competence as safety. We were taught, if you stop taking care of everyone else, everything falls apart. So we never learned how to take care of ourselves. Midlife becomes the reckoning. Who am I if I stop earning love? That question is a rebirth. Recovery isn't pretty or linear. Recovery is saying no without explaining, allowing rest to be productive, choosing joy before duty, letting go of roles that no longer fit, refusing to apologize for existing. Recovery is not becoming a new person. It's finally returning to the person you were before the world convinced you had to be useful to deserve love. If you saw yourself anywhere in these 12 stages, I want you to hear this. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not broken. You are waking up. The voice inside you, the one that you buried years ago because the world needed you to be strong, is asking for a turn. Come home. Come home to your body. Come home to your needs. Come home to your joy. Come home to yourself. This is your life. We don't get a do-over. At the end, you're going to die. After that, all these things that you're worried about won't matter anymore. So don't waste the time you have left. I would love to hear from you. Which stage resonated with you the most? You can just comment the number down below if it feels easier. And if this helped, I invite you to subscribe and also join me over on Substack, where I share deeper stories about healing, identity, and becoming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for choosing yourself today. I will see you in the next video.